Hey, just a quick thing before this video. The video I did for the races that's coming up in a second here. I was messing with the audio. I'm still not great on OBS yet. Trying to limit some of the background noise, and I noticed my mic was cutting out here or there. So I'm still going to work on improving the mic audio. Hopefully, I get that down soon. So just to let you know, that's a little why it sounds a little off, but hopefully in the future videos it'll be improved. So thanks. Alright, Scott, I'm in here. What's going on? This is Baldur's Gate 3, early access, just came yesterday, and we're going to start looking at some of the different things in the game. This video, they're going to talk about some of the races that they've already have in the game. They have a good amount. They're missing a few. The Player's Handbook, which I think their goal is to have most Player's Handbook stuff in the game. It'd be cool if they could add some bonus things in there. Githyanki, of course, aren't for the Player's Handbook, but they are a major race in the story, so they are also an option. Let's just start from the top. We got Elves here, who are, of course, very famous race in anything, and they look so freaking. The character models in this game look so awesome. For example, we have a female and a male here. Very Legolas-like. Of course, you have appearance where you can change a whole facet of how these guys look, or girls. Going to worry about appearance too much in this video. We're just going to go over what these different races do and what advantages they may have, or disadvantages, I guess. Alright, so we have every elf has race features, so they all have keen senses, which means you are proficient in the perception skill. Now, proficiency, as you level up, you get a bonus. At level 1, you get +2 proficiency, and then it comes to +3, +4, +5 maybe at the end of the. I think +5 it goes to. Which basically means anytime you roll a proficiency check, a perception check, for example, in this case, say you roll a 10, you get to add +2 to it because you will be proficient in the perception skill. So you roll a perception check, you get a little bit of bonus. Elves have keen senses. They also have a Fey ancestry here, which means they have advantage on saving throws against being charmed. Now, advantage in 5th edition, basically you roll a d20 for everything and add your bonuses. For advantage, you roll 2 d20 and you take the higher, so you get a chance to get a good roll. So that's nice. Being charmed sucks, of course. Somebody gets control of your brain for a little bit and tells you what to do. And you also, because you're an elf, you don't really have to sleep a lot. Not be put to sleep at all, which probably doesn't come into handy all the time, often, but something. Now, a good thing here is dexterity +2 is nice to have, because obviously elves are quick. This helps your attacks damage with dexterity-based weapons, which are bows, long bows, certain types of weapons like scimitars and things of that nature. So they're obviously very good at bows. They're good at short swords, long swords. Well, that's in general. They're good at long swords, but I don't think long swords are a dexterity-based weapon. But the short sword is, for example, a dagger. It also influences your initiative. There's dexterity. You roll a d20, add your dex to get initiative order, which basically is the order of who goes first in combat. So they tend to be up a little more on that. And it helps your armor class, which is how hard it is to get hit. Now, that's only if you're wearing armor where your dexterity bonus counts. So if we look at armor in D5e, see if I can get this right. If we head over here to the wonderful D&D Beyond, if we look at armor, we have different types of armor, of course. So light armor, for example, is things like leather, padded, studded. This Pride Silk was added in this Wild Mount guide. I don't know, they may not have that in the game. But basically, light armor for rogues, things of that nature. Maybe a Warlock would wear that. Maybe a Ranger even, if you want. The good thing about dexterity here is to say you wear leather armor, your AC, your armor class, is going to be 11 plus your dexterity modifier. Now, your dexterity modifier at level 20, if you have a 20 in dex, for example, you get a plus 5. So let's say our guy's really high level at that. After level 8 or so, you could probably get that easy, level 4, maybe. Probably level 8 in this game. Depends on your class. We would have, say, 11 plus 5. If we were at 20, that would give us a 16 AC. Not bad for a light armored character. If we were wearing studded leather, which is a little bit better than leather, we would have 12 plus whatever our dex modifier is. So if we got it to plus 5, we would have a 17, for example, which is even better. So that's for light armor. Now, if you want to go medium armor, which you can with like a Warlock or a Ranger, the difference here is, say we're wearing a breastplate, your dex modifier only maxes at 2. So say you had a 20 in dexterity and you got a plus 5 bonus, you wouldn't be able to, the maximum bonus you can get is 2. So say you make a Warlock, there's no reason to really put his dex higher than 14, which gives you a plus 2 basically, unless you want to use like a light crossbow all the time, for example, for attacking or something like that. But most likely you probably use your spells, Eldritch Blast or something. So the best you could do, even if you have a 20 dex, for example, here, you would get a 16. 14 plus 2 is 16. The other 3 would be wasted. So light armor for elves is good with that bonus, but even medium armor is good for elves because they naturally get a little bit of a bonus there. So you can wear any of these, and all these give you a plus 2 maximum to your AC. So if you're going with probably the best scale mail is actually half plate is the best medium armor dex AC wise. 15 plus 2, 17 here. So if you have half plate, you get a 17. Right? Say you get a plus 5. Say you get a 20 in dex. Half plate, you get 17. But if you have light armor and you get studded, 12 plus the plus 5, because there's no cap on this, is also 17. So basically, a studded leather is just as good as a half plate for some characters. So it just depends on your stats, of course. Now, if you're doing heavy armor, gets no bonus from AC. So say you're making an elf fighter and you want them to wear like plate mail, your dexterity is going to not matter at all. So you might keep that at 10 because you don't need it for anything really, unless you want to concentrate on ranged weapons for some reason. It will affect that. But so, yeah, you have options here with elves, but that just showing kind of how armor works in general, which we'll probably have to go back to this for the rest of the races, but you get an idea of how dexterity helps you. And elves are dexterous, of course, and that's one of their big bonuses. So then they're also proficient in long swords and short swords. So it doesn't matter what class you use. Say you're a cleric who normally isn't proficient in, say you're a wizard who's not normally proficient in a long sword. If you're an elven wizard, you are, so you can use one without any kind of penalties. Short sword, long bow, short bow. They're good at range stuff, of course, with these specific swords. And they have dark vision up to 40 feet. Dark vision. This game does have it a little bit, like I was playing earlier, and a tiefling, my dwarf, who has dark vision. When I clicked on him, the screen lit up more. When I clicked on the Githyanki character that was with me, who does not have dark, the screen darkened, so it's kind of neat. It actually works in the game, which is cool. So now we go down to elves. There's 2 types of elves, sub-races they have in the game at the moment. Drow are normally a sub-race of elf, but they have them as a separate race in general. So we have our high elves. Here's the mystical Feywild. High elves value magic in all its forms, and even those who do not study spellcraft can manipulate the weave. Right, now high elves get a bonus of 30 feet speed, and their intelligence +1. So if you're going high elf, wizard, not a bad idea. Wizards use intelligence. Look at abilities, and we see what uses intelligence. Really, wizards are the main class that use that as their big stat. So a high elf wizard, not a bad choice. If you think about that, you get good dex through your AC as a wizard is a little better than probably it would normally be. You get use a long sword or a short sword or a longbow or a short bow as a wizard, which is neat if you wanted to. And another cool thing about the High Elves is that they have a cantrip. A cantrip, which is a minor spell, level 0 spell, but they get it from any cantrip from the wizard spell list using intelligence as its modifier, which means if you cast a spell and you have to make a roll of some kind for an attack, or somebody has to do a save against it, which means you cast a spell on them and they have to try to see if they can withstand it, it's going to use your intelligence. So if you want to use a cantrip often, you want to make sure your intelligence is up a little bit so you get a bonus to it. It's not basement on a cantrip, so it's just something fun to have extra. So some of these cantrips which are neat are like Acid Splash, which you can throw some acid for a d6, Blade Ward, which can give you some resistance from an attack coming up, a Chill Touch, which is a necrotic attack, which affects undead creatures even better, Dancing Light, so you can kind of get some lights going, Firebolt, Friends isn't a bad one if you want to be like a talky kind of character with a good charisma, because this gives you advantage on your charisma checks for a minute. You cast this, it's free. Cantrips are free, cast them unlimited. And then go up and talk to somebody, and for that whole conversation, anytime you have to do a check, charisma check, like a deception or persuasion or intimidation or something, you get advantage. As I said earlier, you get to roll 2 dice. Better than 2. That could be useful, especially if you're the type of character which I am. I like to have somebody who's good at talking and can pass checks. This isn't one I would probably. We also have Light, which could be good if you don't have dark vision. Lights up the area for an hour. Mage Hand is another interesting one. You can basically create a little spectral hand that can manipulate objects in the world. So it can't go farther than 30 feet from you, but what it can do is it can open a chest, open a door. It can pick up a potion and pour it in someone's mouth, and I don't know if that's in the game, but that's in normal rules, whether that's implemented or not. Cool thing was, say you find a chest and you think it's trapped. Instead of you opening it, you can have your mage hand go open it. If the trap goes off, you're not going to get hurt. You're 30 feet away, unless it's a wicked trap. Your mage hand will get. Mage hands can't really get hurt, but even if it does, something that happens to it, you just cast it and right away. So you could have them manipulate objects that you're not sure about. Pretty cool. Minor Illusion is interesting too. Creatures have some put you in action. Say you cast an illusion spell somewhere in a corner. Say there's an enemy in your way, and you want to get them to turn their back to you. You can cast in the corner maybe an illusion spell of something, and he would have to use an action to check it out and do a save based on your intelligence to see if he thinks it's real or not. But even so, while he's turned around looking at it, maybe you can sneak up with your rogue and backstab him, do a sneak attack or something. It's a cool way to kind of manipulate the enemies. Poison Spray is a basic attack that does a d12 of poison. Ray of Frost is a long-range attack, 60 feet, that does a d8 of cold, and if they fail save, they take damage, and their speed is reduced, so it slows them down. Shocking Grasp is a lightning, 1d8, and they can't take reactions for a round, which is pretty good because they have attacks of opportunity in this game. So if you have a guy next to an enemy and you want to get away from him, you go out of his range, he gets to attack you. If he got hit by this first, though, he won't be able to. So it could be interesting. And then True Strike is kind of interesting because it gives you advantage on your next attack roll against a creature. The problem is it's an action. So if you're right next to a guy, you're probably just going to... But if, say, you move 30 feet, you're 50 feet away from somebody, you're not going to get to him this round. Cast True Strike on him, move, get closer to him, and then the next round, when you can get up to him and attack him, that next attack you have is an advantage. Of course, roll 2 dice, take the better chance to hit, better chance to crit. So True Strike is pretty good for like a fighter character, maybe. I like Friends here a lot, like I said, because I like to try to, do like have intimidate and persuade and deceptions and stuff. Mage Hand could be good. Minor Illusion could come into play. I like True Strike also. Some of these attack ones, if you're a Warlock or something, you're not going to use Firebolt. You're going to use Eldritch Blast probably. If you're a Wizard, you're going to use... You already have it. If you're going to use Your fighter, you might use a longbow or something. I mean, maybe use an attack spell. I mean, it just depends. But there's a lot of stuff to play around here, and this is cool. Just the high elves get this extra bonus. Now we look at our wood elf. They spend their reclusive lives in the Faerun's forests. Aids of training in archery and camouflage are enhanced by an otherworldly swiftness. Now they, of course, have the same race features. But their sub-race feature for being a wood elf is they walk 35 feet instead of the 30 feet that a high elf walks speed, so they can move a little quicker. You were raised to blend into your natural surroundings. You get proficiency in stealth, which is pretty neat. When you try to hide, you get actually your proficiency bonus added on top of it. And your stealth checks. And wisdom +1, which is good for druids, rangers, and clerics. So, wood elf cleric, not bad. Wood elf ranger would be really good. Probably the best one is a wood elf ranger with a lot more proficiency. I mean, you get hide and attack. Wood elf ranger, not bad. Druids, they don't have them in the game yet, but once they do, these guys could make really good druids as well. Alright, so here's wood elves. So let's go to the tieflings, of course. The demons. Indeed. They're pretty great. So we have race features of all the tieflings is hellish resistance, which means you get resistance to fire damage. So anytime you take fire damage, you take half damage. You get hit for 10, take 5. And they have dark vision up to 40 feet, so they can see in the dark as well as the elves can. Now that's all they get for race features here. Now we go into different types of tieflings. Asmodeus Tiefling, bound to the Nessus, the deepest layer of the Hells. These Tieflings inherit the ability to wield fire and darkness. The Archdevil Asmodeus Infernal. And they get a base racial speed of 30, intelligence +1, so wizardy, charisma +2, definite warlocky. Bards, Pallies, Sorcerers, and Warlocks. Now the only race of those 4 that are in the game at this moment is the Warlock. So a Tiefling Warlock is a very good choice. You also get a cantrip here. You get, say this, thaumaturgy, whatever. Manifest a sign of super power that grants you advantage on intimidation and performance checks. Now that's a little different. Spell normally has a lot of different things that you can do. In this game, I guess they just kind of said you get advantage on intimidation and performance checks. Fine. Bards, when they come out, intimidation, good for anything, if that's the route you want to go. So these guys would make a good caster, good wizard, warlock. Definite warlock, though. Mephistopheles, Tiefling, I think. Descended from the archdevil Mephistopheles, these Tieflings are gifted with a particular affinity for arcane magic. Basically, they're the same as the other ones. They have a different cantrip, though. 30 feet, intelligence 1, charisma 2. Same basics thing. Good wizards, good warlocks. You get the mage hand cantrip, straight up. So we talked about that earlier, that you could do some stuff with mage hand, which is kind of neat. And then we have Zariel. Now, the Zariel is kind of interesting because, at least in the beginning of the game, you're in the first level of Hell, which is Avernus. And the leader of that, basically, is Zariel. So I don't know if that's going to come into play again later. Maybe. I don't know. Tieflings from Zariel's bloodline are empowered with martial strength, which channel Searing Flame to punish their enemies. They get a speed of 30, strength +1, charisma +2, and they get the thaumaturgy cantrip also. I don't really see where the Searing Flame is. But what happens with some of this stuff is check if we're going to get extra spells, because these normally you do. You get spells added to your spell list, but that is more for your type, say your type of warlock you are, though. So let's take a look, if we can, at races. I don't know if tieflings have that bonus. I don't know if this is a normal thing that they have in here that we can look at. 30 feet, dark vision, hellish resistance, thaumaturgy cantrip. Oh, here we go. Different training here. Mephistopheles, Charisma by 2, Intelligence by 1, Mage Hand Cantrip. Okay, when you reach 3rd level, you can cast Burning Hands as a 2nd level spell. When you reach 5th level, you cast Flame Blade. So that is pretty neat. Zariel, Thaumaturgy, Searing Smite at 3rd level is a 2nd level spell. And a 5th level Branding Smite. So yeah, those, they don't show them on the, create your character screen in the beginning, but those are things that you should eventually get because of that. What type of tiefling you are. Did I miss another one? I think this is just the normal tiefling. Hellish Rebuke and Darkness with Thaumaturgy. Yeah, the normal tiefling. Asmodeus tiefling, I think, is it as normal tiefling, possibly. If not, I don't see it on the normal D&D Beyond. This is Sear and Flame. Like, use Arcane Magic. So yeah, you're going to get some more bonuses to your spells as you level up here. Drow. Now, normally Drows are a subrace of Elves. Here, they've changed it up a little bit. So we have race features, 30 feet, Fey Ancestry, same as normal Elves. Saving throws against Charm, and they cannot be put to sleep. Get a bonus to their dex, just like normal Elves, but they also get a bonus to their Charisma. It's interesting. So that's a Warlock Bard type thing there. Sorcerer, possibly. Rapier proficiency is pretty neat. Short swords, hand, crossbow, and superior dark vision. They can see up to 80 feet. Now, one thing that it doesn't say here, which is interesting, is normally Drows, if they're in bright light, they get disadvantage on attacks. Now, they might not have that in this game because that would be very difficult to play with, but that's a normal thing in Drows. So, it doesn't seem like they have it, that feature invented. But, that's fine. Okay, so we have Lolth, Sworn Drow. Lolth, of course, is the lead of the Drow. That's like their main god. Raised by Lolth's cult in the city of Menzo Ben-Zarin, these Drow extol the virtues. Branson, these Drow extol the virtues of the corrupt and merciless goddess. Lolth, who's the spider god, kind of spider queen. Lolth marks their followers with bright red eyes, so the Underdark will learn to fear Drow on sight. Big difference here is you get this cantrip of dancing lights. You get right now. Being that if we look at D&D Beyond, there is no Drow race per se. It's a sub-race. So if we look at Elves, then we go to a Drow sub-race. Let's see if they have anything more here. They've added High Elf, Palette Elf, Sea Elf. There's so many different types of things now. Valinor Wood Elf, just a Wood Elf. Alright, so if we look at Drow, here's that sunlight sensitivity I mentioned, where they have disadvantage on attack rolls that rely on sight and perception when you are in direct sunlight. Dancing Lights cantrip, Fairy Fire, you probably get in Darkness, you'll probably get as you level up. Rapier, short swords, crossbows. So that's the same. Charisma bonus. That's the same. Alright, so look at the Seldarine Drow. Drow are the result of an ancient schism between the elven deities Corellian, Larathian, and Lolth. The latter's treachery drove the Drow into the Underdark, splintered into war and factions. Seldarine Drow can be found seeking allies from all over Faerun, aiming to settle their conflict with both and each other by any means necessary. They get all the same race bonuses. The difference so far in here is they dance the lights. Actually, that's no different. I guess at this point, not knowing things are changing as you level up, level 3, 5, and stuff, there's really no difference between the two. Yes, it's more of like both Sworn Drow are sworn to Lolth, the Spider Queen. You know, like kind of tough, evil Drow, where it looks like the Seldarines are trying to find allies to settle their conflict with Lolth, so they're kind of like anti-Lolth. They've splintered off from their goddess. So it's more of a lore thing at this point, it seems like. Alright, humans, of course, the most common face to see in Faerun. Humans are known for their tenacity, creativity, and endless capacity for growth. So humans are pretty much good at everything. They have 30 speed and a +1 in every stat. So basically, we're all-around type character that can just get at everything. Right, Githyanki. We didn't really look at the Tiefling males. Let's do that real quick. Just a general look at them and the Drow males. Looked at the human males. Githyankis. There's a female and a male. Githyanki are peerless warriors from the astral plane, known for legendary silver blades and red dragon mounts. They seek the total destruction of mind flayers. The ancient empire enslaved Githyanki for millennia, so obviously this game is about mind flayers as the main enemy, at least in the beginning. Whether or not that changes, no. So these guys are in here, because they're the big enemy of mind flayers. Look at the Yankees. They don't have any subraces. They have a 30-foot speed, intelligence +1, and a strength of 2. So probably looking at fighters, maybe a ranger with melee weapons. Would work because they have short sword and great sword proficiencies, and long sword, short sword, great sword. Wear medium armor. Don't have heavy armor to wear yet though, so they may be a little less armored if you're going to go like a fighter, but they could still be good if they have a good dex. At least get a +2 to that. So they're quick with some strength. It's a pretty cool race. So I like this greatsword proficiency, which is pretty neat. They also get Githyanki, Psionics, Mage Hand, Cantrip. So basically get Mage Hand at this point. Let's see if there's anything. Let's see if there's anything we can get from the Githyanki race here, which is not in the player's guide. It was added in the Mordecai's Tome of Foes guide. That you could be a Githyanki or a Gith. 30 feet. Intelligence increases by 1. And then the Githyanki here. There's also the Khizari, who is wisdom based, but the one that is in the game is the Githyanki. So they all get intelligence 1 bonus. These go with the strength. They tend toward lawful evil. Proficient light, medium, short, long, and great swords, like we saw. They get Mage Hand. At 3rd level, they could cast the jump spell with this trait, which is interesting because it basically triples your jump. In this game, you jump a lot. You can actually do a lot of jumping around the levels, which is neat. So you can really jump with a Githyanki. And they also get Misty Step, which is a fantastic spell where you can basically, it's a bonus action where you can teleport 30 feet, which is a really good way to get out of trouble, get closer to somebody, get into trouble, for example, things like that. And they use intelligence as their spell casting ability for these spells. Even though intelligence isn't really necessary here for any of these spells as a bonus, they're not attack spells and nobody saves against them. But still, Misty Step is very useful. Jump is going to be useful in this game, I think. Mage Hand is kind of cool. So, not bad. Not a bad race to be. Also, obviously, you get a companion Githyanki very early in the game, like in the very beginning, basically a fighter. So, if you want to make a Githyanki, maybe don't make a fighter because you get one, or if you want to go with 2 fighters, that's fine. All right, Dwarfs. These are Dwarves. So, race features of Dwarves. Dwarven resilience, advantage on saving against poison and resistance to poison. So not only do you get to roll 2d20s, take the higher to save against poison. If you do get hit, you take half the damage away. So kind of +2, which is based on your health points. They're going to have a lot more health. Battle Axe, Hand Axe, Light Hammer and Warhammer proficiencies. Dark Vision's 40 feet. So now we have Gold Dwarves. Gold Dwarves are known for their confidence and keen intuition. Culture of their deep kingdom values family, ritual, and fine craftsmanship. There's a female and a male Gold Dwarf. Subraces of the Gold Dwarves. Dwarven Toughness. Your hit point maximum increases by 1, and it increases by 1 again every time you gain a level. And then we have a speed of 25, so Dwarves actually have the slowest speed, along with Halflings, I believe. Or maybe Gnomes. 25 speed, so slowest in the game so far. And then Gold Dwarves Wisdom +1, good for Rangers, Clerics, and Druids, of course. A little bit bonus, plus your cons, your party, some more hit points. Maybe you want to go with a Dwarven Cleric, maybe a Dwarven Ranger. You know, Dwarven Clerics are pretty good. The other thing is that as a cleric, you can be a heavy armored, and then now you have I'm not going to get into that until we get to classes eventually, but of a heavy armored, high hit pointed cleric, it's pretty sweet. Alright, now let's go into our shield dwarves. There's a female and a male. Shield dwarves survived a long fall from grace, surrendered many of their ancient kingdoms in wars with goblins and orcs. These losses have led to a cynical mindset, yet shield dwarves will endure anything, restore their ancestral homelands. They have the same race features, of course. The difference between them and the golds, still 25 speed. These guys have a +2 to strength, where the golds are wisdom. So these are the more fighting dwarves, shield dwarves, and they make awesome fighters. Obviously, strength +2, con +2 for your health. Be wearing heavy armor, kicking butt. Be sweet. They get light and medium armor proficiency straight up, where the Gold Dwarves get no armor proficiencies, actually. That's interesting. So their armor proficiencies are directly based on what class they are. Well, these guys get light and medium straight up, and then, of course, if you're a fighter, for example, or a paladin or something, you get heavy armor based on your class. So dwarves, obviously, fighters are going to be awesome. Cleric could be cool. I mean, really, you could kind of do anything with anybody, but, you know, you're going to be kind of thinking about it. Fighter, for sure. Cleric could be good. Ranger, maybe. Rogues, they aren't very dexterous, but at least they don't get bonuses to it. The other class, maybe not. Dwarven Fighter, pretty awesome. You can't really go wrong with that. Alright, now we have Half-Elves. A high and a wood half-elf, and a drow half-elf. Okay. Female, male, highs. See, a touch of the Feywild remains in half-elves with this bloodline. Actually, I'm sorry, we should go down to race features first. These are all the same. So, as a half-elf, you get to actually pick 2 points added anywhere you want, depending on what you want to be for your class. Do you want to be a ranger, wisdom, and dexterity? Probably. You want to be a warlock? Boost up. Actually, they don't get to boost up charisma. That's interesting. Okay. Then, right? That's probably right. Oh, you might be a fighter. Let's boost up. Whoops. Boost up. Whoops. What happened? Boost up strength and probably con. Want to be a rogue? Dexterity you want to boost for sure, and maybe intelligence. You know, you get your pick here. Fey ancestry like normal elves, where advantage on charms, get people to sleep. I'll get a bonus of charisma +2. Oh, that's why you can up the charisma. I forgot to get a charisma anyway. So good for bards. A half-elf bard is really good. Half-elf block would actually be good too. Sorcerer would be good. Dark Vision 40. So the high half-elf. Touch of the Feywild remains in the half-elves with this bloodline, and even those untrained in magic possess a hint of wild power. Just like the normal half-elves, they get a wizard cantrip. We all went through that with the wizards. Same thing here. Pretty cool. And then their subrace trait is that they go 30 feet. If we go to the Wood Elves, like their Wood Elf parent, these half-elves have a quickened stride and an eye for stealth. And many break away from isolation and favors force to explore the rest of the realms. Same thing here with your, you can pick what you want to add to. They get 35 feet, like the Wood Elves, which is nice. And they get Mask of the Wild, proficiency in stealth, just like the Wood Elves normally do, but a little more options here. And Drow half-elves. Most half-Drow result from liaisons between Seldarine Drow, who are the Drow that are trying to get away from the Underdark and their god, and Surfacers. While half-Drow inherit a few magical gifts, they aren't usually raised in the Underdark. And they get their bonuses here as normal, +2, and they get a base speed of 30, and they get Dance and Light cantrip. So the Drow do Dance and Lights, and they'll probably do more spells later on the road. See if they have anything for. Let's see if they have anything for half-elf Drow in here. So that's something that I normally do. I've looked. Oh yeah, Drow half-elf. Here we go. So they get Dancing Lights, 3rd level Fairy Fire, and Darkness at 5th level, it looks like. So kind of like Drow in general. Okay, makes sense. All right, so in there, half-elves, very versatile, of course. They could put points to different spots, already good at charisma. Want to be a Warlock or a Bard, good pick. Sorcerer, good pick, probably. Or if you just want to have good charisma, you could be like a ranger, but you want to be, persuasive or deceptive. That would work too. All right, the final one we got here is halflings. We have the race features. They are lucky, which is an awesome skill. When you roll 1 for an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can re-roll the die. Use the new roll. That comes up a lot more than you would think. You roll 1s, it seems like you roll 1s more than you roll 20s, even though it's a 5% chance for either one. It feels like you roll more. And they get a dexterity +2. That's for both races, sub-races. They're quick, good with dexterity-based weapons, going first in combat, light armor, really good with light armor, good with medium armor. There's our female, male, Lightfoot. Lightfoot halflings are stealthy but social, traveling all over Faerun to make names for themselves. So these guys are naturally stealthy, proficiency in stealth checks. So not only is their dexterity good, which is good for stealth checks, then they get a bonus on top of that. Basically, they get stealth-free proficiency, which is nice. Only 25 feet speed like the Dwarves, and a charisma +1, so they're charming. Then we got Strong Hearts. There's the male, female. Legends say dwarven blood gave Strong Hearts their hardiness. Resistant to poison and wellsprings of endurance, these halflings easily hold their own. Lucky dexterity, Strong Heart resilience, saving throws against poison resistant, just like the Dwarves do. 25 feet, just like the Dwarves, and con +1. So being that, Lightfoots have a little bit bonus to that charisma, Strong Heart's con, which doesn't really, con's good for everybody, right? Everybody wants hit points. I mean, con, not bad. You spend a little less just to get, an even number on your abilities to get more hit points for you. All right, so there we go. That's all the races that are in the game thus far. Let's take a quick look at what races are not in the game, but should be in the game eventually, because they have said that they're going to try to get everything in the player's handbook in this game. Now, whether or not they get to that, we don't know how long it's going to take. But if you look here, this whole row here is done. Dwarf, elf, halfling, human, tiefling. There's some variants that aren't there. They may add some more variants in for the elves and, the different classes, but at least we have basis of here. Now, the dragon boards are awesome. Excuse me. I'm very excited if they get dragon boards in here. Plus, they're going to look so cool the way this game looks. Dragon boards are good at strength and charisma, good paladins. They get breath weapons and stuff. They're neat. a very neat race that hopefully they can get them in there quickly. The gnomes, of course, are intelligent, dark vision, they're cunning, good at spell casting, good at being wizards. Normally illusionists, at least in the old Baldur's Gates. They had to be illusionists, actually. They didn't have a choice. Very cool. And then half-orcs are awesome as well. They have strength and con, obviously great fighters, great barbarians, which aren't in the game yet, but hopefully they will be. These guys are like made to be barbarians, man. Dark vision, medicine, relentless endurance. The relentless endurance, that means if they get killed, if they actually drop to 0 hit points, they actually go to 1 hit point on that attack the first time, whatever. Like, they're hard to knock down. Savage attacks. These guys kick ass, so hopefully they get added in pretty soon too, so we can play around with them. But race-wise, they've done pretty good. They got a majority of them. Well, 6 of the 9. They took Drow from the Elf sub-race and added it as a separate race. And they added in already the Gith, because they're main parts of the story down here. Now, other races I would love to see someday. Who knows, right? From other parts of the game, I would love to see Aarakocras are kind of neat. The Genasis are kind of neat. Goliaths are great. They're big, strong, and, fighters and barbarians and pallies. The Asmirs are cool. They're very they're like the guardians of good and law and justice and heavenly creatures. Good for paladins, of course. Lizard folk are neat. I'm probably not going to see them. Well, who knows? Tabaxi are neat. They're the cat creatures, very quick and fast. Good for monks. Yanti are like the snake people. They're pretty cool. Would like to see them too, personally. And the Tortle, I'd love to see them. Who knows? They're kind of cool. Make really good clerics, actually. Some of this other stuff I'm not as familiar with, but I would love to see if they can add some of those races and eventually. And if they ever add in new races, we'll take a look at them and see what they add to the game when the time comes. Alright, so that is that. That's all the races that are in the game as of now, and some races I would like to see eventually. I hope this video was at least somewhat helpful, informative, or just fun to watch in some way. I'm going to do another one on classes and take a look at these classes and some of these subclasses that they have in the game so far. Abilities don't really need to look at. You can talk about those through classes and races and skills. You can take a look at skills in a video. Maybe if you guys think that's necessary, let me know if you'd like to see that. They're pretty easy to kind of figure out what they are by just kind of looking at them, but it's something we might do in the future. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you later.